Wow, I've not done this for a while. Hello and welcome to the video. If you're new around here, then I like to do tips, tutorials, reviews, and some questionable vlogs. Now in this video, we're going to talk about how to capture my type of B-roll. So what is B-roll? B-roll is the footage that you lay on top of your main footage to either prove a point or footage that you use to tell the story better. So let's get on with the video. First thing we'll talk about is gear. Lenses, number one. Whether you use wide lenses, long lenses, what you want to catch my type of B-roll is a lens with a shallow depth of field. So you want there to be a lens that opens nice and wide. My favorite at the moment is my 28mm f2, and that way you get a nice blur between the subject and the background. To keep your aperture nice and wide, you might overexpose your shots. So what I would suggest is using an ND filter. Now, cheap ND filters are absolutely fine in my opinion. I've got a video on this linked above. Next is a gimbal. I really like to use a gimbal. All the different shots you can get from that, the panning shots, the rotating shots, the circular shots, the straight lines. I just love how a gimbal looks. If you can't afford a gimbal, then don't worry about that. Just go handheld. And that moves me on to frame rates. So I like to shoot in the highest frame rate possible, and that way when you slow it down, it looks more cinematic, but also it takes away those jitters, any sort of bumps in the video. You can also stabilize in post if it's a little bit shaky. A drone. I always like to use a drone. It gives a different perspective to you just being on the ground. Tip on drone shots. There are obviously loads of different types of drone shots, and you want to do all the sort of panning and moving around and all that good stuff. But if you're new, just stick to straight lines. Either go really high or go really close. Obviously be careful. What I would also say to do is stay in that straight line. Keep going with that shot in that straight line for at least 10 seconds. The amount of times that I've pulled back in post, had a look at the flight that I've just had, and if I just left that flying to go for a little bit longer, then the shot would have looked great. It's also really good for an opening shot, a wide opening shot, which leads me on to the different types of shots. You want to use a variety of different types of shots, so wide establishing shots, medium shots, and then close in shots. Now, if you want to get really close but you haven't got a macro lens, then these are extension tubes. They're just really cheap off Amazon. They're absolutely brilliant. You just stick them on your normal lens and it allows you to get a lot closer to the subject. Different types of shots as well. I also just like handheld shots and static shots just sat there on a tripod. You can also in post add a little bit of movement into a shot. So you could crop in and use it as a panning shot, or you could Ken Burns in. Loads of different options. Another one I like to do is make sure that your highlights don't blow out. So expose for the highlights. Now that can either give a really pleasing image, or you can make your subjects dark so that it looks like they're silhouette. I also really like that look. Time lapses. Time lapses are brilliant to show the passage of time, or also day to night, that kind of thing. Next is to shoot in a flat picture profile. So whether your camera has S-Log or whether it has one of the cine settings, or if it doesn't, just try to desaturate and pull the sharpness down as much as you possibly can. That way it gives you more movement when you are in the editing and you want to change the colors on the grade. Daniel Schiffer has done a brilliant video on how to make daytime shots look like they're shot at sunset or sunrise, and I'll link that down below. Next then is editing techniques. So once you've got the footage into the editing software, things you can use to make the B-roll flow better. I really like to use speed ramping, and I do have a video on that. I don't think it's out yet, but when it is, I'll link that. Also, there are transitions. So you can buy transitions and just drop them onto your footage, but I really don't recommend doing this. It just doesn't give it a good look, and it doesn't give it any purpose. If you are going to use transitions, then definitely think about the transition that you're using. If you're going to use that Sam Calder zooming in effect, then make sure that you're going from a wide shot to a close shot, so the zooming in actually feels like it's making a purpose within flowing on the video. Otherwise, if you're just dropping them in randomly in between clips that make no sense together, it just doesn't work, it looks awful. What I would prefer to do is just use the tools built in and do a lot of masking transitions. These are some of my favorites. Next is adding sound design. If your footage has no sound to it, or it's just got music over it, it can be fine, but adding in some sound effects adds another element to the video. I've got a massive library that I've literally just downloaded from YouTube. All you need to do is type the sound effect that you want and type sound effect, and then just download that, save them on your computer, use them where relevant. Next is grading. Now, like I say, shooting in the flat picture profile will allow you more flexibility when you come to grading, so that you can make the video look a way that you want. You can make it look like it was shot at night, you can make it look like it was shot at sunset, that kind of thing. The grade really helps make B-roll look better. Another one on that is the vintage look. I do have a video on this. I've got a really easy tutorial on how to get the vintage look, and that's that sort of faded where the blacks are pulled up into the white. So yeah, I really like that look. So that's it, that's all I got for this one. This is how I capture my B-roll. Now, you might not agree with some of these, or you might also have some other techniques that you use that I've missed out. So if you have, please drop them down below. We're all here to learn. So thank you very much for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next one.